All right, so let's get this thing rolling. So I'm Claudio La Sala. I call myself an intermediate track day rider nowadays, even though I've been bumped to the advanced group a couple of months ago. But I still ride, mostly with the intermediate group because I feel like there's so much to learn. There are so many fundamental aspects of riding that I'm still like working on it. So at this point, I say, well, I'm not a novice anymore, a beginner anymore. I think I've you know, improved quite a bit from when I started, but I'm still trying to learn, as I go. There are things that I'm not like fully comfortable with to be able to say, oh yeah, I'm an advanced rider. No, I'm working my way there. When people ask what these meetings are all about, I think about, what are the best ways to become a better rider, right? And I see three ways. One is you go to the track and ride, right? Because becoming a better rider on the street is way harder and way more dangerous, right? Because you're riding with the other cars, they don't care about people on bikes. At the track, everybody's going the same direction. There's nobody texting on their phone as you're riding, and everybody there is essentially doing the same thing that you're doing, right? Having fun and becoming a better rider, trying to learn a couple more tricks. That's number one way to become a better rider, right? You ride on the track. Second best is going to class, right? You go, like for instance with RideSmart, you go to class, you hear out what instructors have to say, you go out to the track, you ask one instructor to follow you. They're gonna follow you around the track, and then they're gonna pull you aside and say, hey, that thing there, you should be doing this, or you should be doing this other thing, or on that turn, you're coming in and turning in too late. You have to turn in a little bit earlier, or you're going on the brakes too early. You can wait a little bit longer, right? So they're gonna evaluate that. They're gonna see your body position on the bike. They're gonna tell you. So then you go out again to the track, you practice what instructors told you, and you can be working with them all day. And then the third best option to become a better rider is what you do beyond the track. When you're not at the track, what can you do to become better? You do what you're doing here tonight, right? You came to this meetup to learn a little more, to ask questions. And then you learn things like that I personally do. I go back home and I watch my videos to see, what can I be trying to do next time. I analyze the track map to know, what turns go where. Is it a left turn, a right turn? Is there like a long straight, so on and so forth. I get on my bike, sitting back at home in the garage. I put my iPad with videos so I can practice, just body position on the bike. I practice how I'm gonna set up my bike, like putting the tire warmers and putting it on the stand. I practice those things back home so that when I'm at the track, I don't spend time thinking about that. I already know what I have to do. So when I'm at the track, I can focus on riding. All right, one tip that I give, to novices, beginner, is on the first couple of track days, I noticed that I was actually not changing gears much. I was so busy thinking about everything else, like thinking about, okay, I'm coming out of this turn one. Where does turn two take me? Is it a left turn or a right turn? I don't remember. I was so busy thinking about all those things and the faster guys going by me. And I go like, whoa, whoa. Eventually I realized, you know what? I'm riding the whole thing in third gear, right? Because again, I was so busy thinking about everything else that I was not even changing gears. And that actually comes to our advantage. So on the first couple of track days, pick a gear that's comfortable for the pace that you're going, second or third. Don't even bother changing it. Focus on learning the line around the track. Are you supposed to be on the right side or on the left when you come out of this corner or when you enter that corner? Focus on those things, right? Because you're not going to be going fast anyways. Don't even try to go fast when you start doing track days. Don't bother. First learn about, where does the track go? Do I have a left or do I have a right? Right? And focus on that. Focus on getting a feel for you on the bike. What does, Because one thing is riding on the street where you cannot really peg on the throttle. The other thing is riding at the track where you can just go like, whoosh, right? It's a huge difference. Because like for me, when I was riding on the street, I would never go over like 8,000 RPMs. Even though the bike can go up to like 14,000 on mine, I wouldn't go past 8,000. It made no sense. Why would I do that? Well, at the track, you have to do that, right? When you start going faster, that is, right? You have to leverage that because that's usually the peak power of your bike. That's where you want to be. But not on the beginning. When I started going to the track, I was not like pegging the throttle. I was going whoa, whoa, very conservatively because the whole thing of going that fast, that to me was new. I was still trying to learn all of that, right? So that's a tip that I've been giving people because I realized that somewhere when I was doing my second track day, I was at this track, right? And I noticed that the only time I was actually upshifting was on this straight here. But it was a long straight. I would go from third to fourth gear. And then down here, I would go back into third. And then all the way around the track, I was doing it in third gear. Sometime like halfway through the day, I was like, man, I'm not changing gears that much. Is that even normal? Like, of course, that's not normal. I mean, it's normal for a beginner at a slower pace because you're not going that fast. You're not really using all of the bike's potential, right? And don't even try to use all of the bike's potential when you're just getting started. Take it easy, right? Because it doesn't matter how fast you are at the track, there will always be somebody way faster than you, period. Earlier this year, I explained or I've shared with people who came to these meetups how I've transitioned from being a beginner rider at the track to an intermediate, right? And then once I've gone over that and made the move to being an intermediate, I started also documenting, okay, now how do you go from intermediate to advanced? What does it take to get you there, right? And I started documenting those. What are the things that I'm personally doing that's actually working for me, right? At least for me, that's how it's working. And I've been sharing because maybe it's going to work for you. It's going to work for people who are going to be watching these videos. I don't know. And one of the things that I'm very big about is the rituals, right? I have to follow certain rituals, certain habits to do things, so that I don't have to think too much about things that I have to do all the time, and I can focus on the things that can vary. I've created or I've developed some rituals to get on the track and off the track, and there's as I was putting this together, thinking, man, I do a lot of stuff when I'm about to go out to the track and when I'm coming back. So let me show you, when I'm getting ready to hit the track, right? So it's not like, okay, just put the helmet on, start the engine, and go. For me, right now, at the level that I'm at, there's a lot that goes on. So here what I'm going to be talking about is like the 10 minutes prior to getting on the track, okay? So things that I do, I always I started putting my tire gauge pressure, my tire pressure gauge on the bike like that. Because that way I don't forget that I need to check the tire pressure. Because I used to have that on the ground someplace, I would hit the track and forget about it. If I put it there, well, guess what? I cannot leave the paddock if that thing is on the seat. So it's the only way for me not to forget to check the tire pressure. Notice the other things that I have, like the gloves. Oh, how can you forget to put on the gloves? I almost rode out of the paddock without my gloves. I mean, I put the helmet, I get on the bike, boom, boom, whoa, right? I forgot to put my gloves. There was this one time that happened. Here it's like, no, I have to sit on them. I'm not going to forget, right? So I put those things in place. I check tire pressure, right? I know, roughly where I want it to be. I check it and I write it down. Okay, before I'm going to the track, I have the following on the rear and on the front. I write it down, right? Because that's going to come in importance when I come back off the track and compare, because it's going to vary. As you put heat into the tire, the pressure is going to vary. So it's good to know what that is. You may not know what to do with that information, but the tire guy will, right? So you walk to the tire guy and say, hey, look, I started with this, with cold tires. As I came out of the track, I had this. What does this say? And he's going to tell you, oh, drop off a couple of pounds here or there, or add a little more air on the rear tire or on the front tire. They're going to know based on that kind of information and on the tire wear as it is. Before going out to that one session, I always have a plan, right? When I go to a track day, I think about what do I want to work on. When you go out on your very first track day, the only plan is to go have fun and not crash. That's your plan, right? Once you're over that first step, then you start thinking, or you should, okay, what do I want to work on today? On this specific session, what do I want to work on? So I have a list of those things. So I say, well, you know what? On session 4, I want to work on, carry a little more speed between turns 8 and 9. Because that's an observation. It's like, okay, I remember last time when I was going through turn 8 and 9, it felt like I was going slow. I could go a little faster. So this time I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to carry a little bit more speed. A little bit more speed. And I also want to work a little bit on my upper body. I want to pay attention. So it's like, I'm going to focus on those two things. If I have to do the whole lap in third gear, I don't care. Because for that session, these are the two things that I'm really concerned about. So I want to ride around thinking, okay, how is my upper body? Am I moving it enough? Am I where I'm supposed to be? Right? And when I get to turn 8 and 9, okay, let me see if I can carry a little bit more speed through it. Right? So I look at that. 10 minutes before I'm going to the track, it's like, okay, that's what I wanna work on. Next, I suit up, because as I'm waiting in between sessions, I put down my leathers. I don't get, out of the whole thing, because it's kind of hard to get out of my boots and stuff. It would take me some time to be putting them on and off. But at least the top part, I just put it down. Even more so when it's hot. Man, when it's hot and I'm sweating my butt off, I remove my back protector, I put it someplace on the side, I bring it back. Down. At this point, I'm about to go out to the track. I'm going to put the back protector. I'm going to zip up. That part's ready. Next, earplugs. Huge tip. Always wear earplugs when you're riding, even more so on the track, because your engine sound is so loud, and from everybody else going around you, it's a lot of distraction. If you put the earplugs, it isolates all of this distraction, or not all of it, right? It's not going to make you deaf, but it's going to, you're going to be a little more focused on what you are doing. And the other outcome of this is that you're going to start rely not on what you're hearing from your bike, but how you're feeling it, because you're going to feel the vibration of the engine. So you're going to know when it's time to actually, upshift or downshift, because you're feeling your bike, not because you're hearing it, right? So it will help you with focus, and it will also save your hearing, right? Because, then when you get old, if you don't take this kind of precaution, when you get old, you're going to hear that constant, and, that's not good. So clear up your mind. I don't know how many riders out there do that, but I do, right? I've learned to start meditating several years ago, and this is something that I've brought on to me with me to the track. So as I'm doing these final 10 minutes of preparation, zipping up and doing all of that, I start counting breaths from 10 to 1. So it's like 10, 9, all the way to 1. When I get to 1, I start back at 10. And I keep doing that because those final minutes, we are in such a hurry because we want to get to the track, we want to ride. We end up forgetting important stuff like the earplugs, fastening your helmet. Important stuff you end up forgetting. As you're counting, you're focused on that. When your mind starts thinking about too many things, you lose count. It's like, was I at 5 or 4? That's an indication that you're distracted. Start back at 10, chill, work your way there, right? Because you're about to go really fast or faster than you're used to on the track with other people. Make sure that your mind is there, not at what you're gonna have for dinner tonight, what meeting you're gonna have with work or with your boss on Monday. Forget all of that. Clear your mind. Extremely important for you to set the mind frame, the frame of mind for the track. I personally use a helmet liner like that because I sweat a lot. And when I come out of the track, like my face is sweating, my scalp is sweating. So I put one of those things, right, to save my helmet from that much sweat, which helps me at least. If you have somebody uh, around you who cares about you, like I very often have my wife with me, I'll go there and steal a kiss. It's very important because the reason why I'm out at the track is because she gives me support. And for me, it's like, well, I have somebody who actually gives me, encourages me to be there. She helps me out, get my bike ready, my stuff ready. So before I go to the track, I want to make sure that she knows that I appreciate what she's doing for me, right? It's another thing, but I would not think about that if I was not like clearing up my mind on the previous steps. Like, okay, what's important right now? These kind of little things, very important, right? uh, and why do I do that? Well, because now I'm going to put on my helmets. Now I'm going to be in full riding mode, let's say. Strap it on. Very important. Because, like, take this case here. Let me see if I can play the video straight from here. Yes, I can. Look at what happened to this rider here. I don't know why you don't hear the sound, but the guy coming behind here. Look at his helmet, where it is. So they're gonna replay it slow motion. What you have to pay attention to is that he didn't have his helmet properly fastened. His helmet came off before he hit the ground. Look at that. It's off already. Very fortunately, he didn't hit his head on the ground, but his whole body was on the deck and he didn't have his helmet on. That is scary, man. That is really, really scary. And all it takes you is for something like that to happen to you once, uh, going out to the track and not having it properly fastened. It happened to me once where I was hurrying to the track, right? It's like, oh, they're calling, it's time to go, let's go. And then I also had to talk to the instructor who was supposed to be following me that round, and then some things were not working properly. And then I go to the track. As soon as I start going fast, I feel the thing was loose there. And that was at Coda, the track where I go the fastest, right? And I had to turn a full lap, and I couldn't go really, really slow. I had to go at a certain speed, but with that thing like this on me all the time. And I know that my helmet is loose. It's like, so I had to pull in, buckle up, right? So that point I cannot emphasize enough. So if you have too many things going on in your head, that's one thing that you can easily forget. So that's why I say clear off your mind. Do all the things in the very same sequence every time so that you don't forget important stuff like that. Because that could be, I mean, not pretty, right? You don't want to hit the track when your helmet's not properly fastened. Putting on the gloves, notice that here we are at a different track, but the setup on my bike is the same. The tire gauge, tire pressure gauge is here, and my gloves are there. So I always do these things regardless as where I am. So that's the time to put the gloves on. Mine's still clean, right? Because I'm taking time to talk through all of this, but there are 10 minutes, and the mind can easily get distracted by a million things that are happening around us. So as I'm doing all of these things, putting on the helmet, putting on the gloves, in my head I'm still 10, 9. I'm like, okay, clear everything in my head. I need to be focused, right? Time to start the engine. Like, make that thing, run. Hit that button. At this point, I turn on the camera sitting on the rear, right? Because once I'm on the bike, it's very hard to turn this guy on. So that's the time when, since I run 2 cameras, and why do I bring that up? It's because I get very frustrated when I have like what I feel like that was the perfect session. I rode really nice, I felt good on the bike, and then I'm like, okay, I want to see the video, watch that video later tonight to see why I felt so good about it. And then I go back to the garage or to the paddock. Oh, it was not recording. I get very frustrated with that kind of stuff. So that's why that to me is important. I've put on the gloves. Okay, what's next? Turn on this camera. It's something I do. Time to go out yet, right? And at some tracks, it's easy to see how things are going because when you're running tire warmers, you want to make sure that you only take them off when you're actually going. Because if you take them off, you go to the staging area and you sit there for 3-4 minutes, they're losing heat, right? So you have to keep watching. Okay, is it time to go? Is it time to go? So you start developing like this timing. You know when you can actually go. You can get them off and you can just go and hit the track. So I keep paying attention to that because sometimes they make an announcement. It's like, okay, this next session is going to be delayed by 5 minutes because there's been a crash on the track. They're cleaning the debris and stuff. So I just wait. I'm like fully suited up, gloves and all. I'm just wait. Just 10, 9, right? I'm still in my Zen mode. When it is time to go, remove or take off the tire warmers, get the bike off the stands, and go. But sometimes as we get out of the paddock, they say, oh, okay, hold on, something happened, we need to wait. And then you need to sit there and still wait a little bit, right? You and the other guys are just sitting there waiting. Well, when I'm sitting there and waiting like that, I am not thinking about the movie that I watched last night or the new movie that's coming out next week. In my head, what do I have? That's what I do, man. Like I feel the bike, the engine, the sound, right? But of course, in my head, I'm not seeing that. If I'm at Coda, that's probably what I'm seeing, right? I'm all zen, looking at that. All right, it's gonna be me and you in just a little bit, right? At this point, also, I start the camera that I have set on the front, right? It's right there. Just hit the button. I used to run the camera as soon as I get off the paddock, the garage. I stopped doing that because that's more work for me later when I want to edit the video. Also, it saves on the batteries, on the battery, right? And the memory that I have on the camera. Because sometimes you unfortunately have to sit there for like 5 minutes, 8 minutes, and that's just eating up your memory. So when I was like, okay, now it's time to actually go out, start. Okay? So I do that, and then, I mean, this is the moment you've been preparing for, right? So just enjoy it. That's what you were there for. That's the only thing you should be worried about, or you should be thinking about. Is have fun and see if you can learn something along the way. Try to remember, oh yeah, I said I was going to work on carrying more speed in between the following turns. I said I was going to work on my upper body position. Am I doing that? You know, that's the kind of stuff that should be on your mind. Just that. Enjoy. That's what you are there for. All of that preparation, all of that research, going to class, it all boils down to this. By the time you hit the track, you are feeling like, man, I'm Valentino Rossi, I'm whatever, whoever is your hero, right? That's what riding at the track is. I mean, if you follow racing, like MotoGP, those, it's like, man, I'm doing what those guys do. I'm going out to the track and I'm riding my freaking bike, right? That's the moment, and it is addictive. It is totally addictive, right? So you do that, and then the whole thing about the breathing, it also helps you when you're riding. Something that you notice when you're riding is that you end up holding your breath a lot, right? Because you're going fast, you are approaching a corner, you're not sure you're going to be able to make that corner. What do? And then what happens? You're holding your breath, you're tensing up. That's the least thing you want to do, the last thing you want to do when you're on a bike, because you know you're so tense, you're influencing the way that the bike is actually handling. The bike needs you to be relaxed so that it can actually do what it was designed to do. So because I do like this meditation thing, and I do this exercise of controlling my breathing, I started using that at the track. Because for instance, like on this video, this track that I rode 2 weeks ago, there is this section where there is this left turn, right? And then you make a right turn it is into this blind crest, right? So you're going fast, you just came fast left, and then you move your body to the right, and then you look up. You're supposed to look up. Beginners, we normally look down. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh crap. No, you have to look up. So you look up, well, guess what? You don't see where you're going. It's blind. So what happens is you go like, and then you hold your breath. And then what comes next? You go down, right? And on the video, you don't get the feel for it. When you are there, you feel it because you go like, right? Because you really go down, you feel the suspension compressing as you go to make this right. And first couple of times around it, I was feeling like I was holding my breath until I was by this apex. So I was like, eventually I've learned that, okay, this is a time that I should go like, comes from exercising, right? So as I'm going up on that hill right before this, I'm breathing in, I go over that blind crest, I let go of the air because that way I relax. At that point, the suspension needs to do its work. So I'm relaxed on the bar. Even though I'm making this, right hand corner here, I'm relaxed on the bar because I'm letting go of the air. As soon as I started doing that, I started feeling way more relaxed on the bike. Because in the beginning, when I was tensing up too much, at the end of the day, going to the track, I felt my arms like sore from like holding on too tight on the bars. As I started just, whenever I realized that it's like, man, I'm holding my breath. Instead of going, no, go, take your time, like let it out and focus on what you're doing. You just start feeling relaxed. So nowadays, at the end of the day, instead of feeling my arms sore, I feel my legs. And that's what you want to feel sore, because on the bike when you're riding, that's where you're using your strength to move from side to side. So the legs, yes, you should really feel them. The arms, no. You do your thing, you ride, you enjoy, you relax. Another point in regards to relaxing as you're riding is so that you are more aware of what you are doing. That way, when you come out of the track, you can think about what you did and how that worked or not, right? Because if I said, okay, on this session, I'm going to be working more on my upper body and on turns 8 and 9. When I come out of the track and I look at my notes and say, well, I didn't pay attention to any of that. I don't know how my upper body felt, and I don't know what I did on turns 8 and 9 because I didn't think of that. So then I fail. On the other hand, if I was paying attention to these two things, when I go back to the paddock, I actually write down, oh, my upper body, I felt like I didn't have enough support, or I felt like I was not pushing my elbow out enough. So maybe next time out at the track, that's what I want to focus on. Or maybe I didn't feel my head going where like the mirror should be, and I felt that I was like this. If you're relaxed, you can actually pay attention to these things as opposed to let me see how fast my bike can go without me crashing. If you're doing that, you're, what's the expression, flying by the edge of your pants or something like that, right? You're not really paying attention to what you're doing. There's no way to improve what you are doing if you don't know what it is that you are doing. So you have to relax, you have to be able to think about what you are doing, what you are trying, take notes, analyze, go back out there, try it again or try it in a different way, whatever works, right? When it's time to go back from the track, pit in, at this point I stop my front camera because I've forgotten a couple of times. And the way that it happened was I go back to the garage or whatever. I forget to shut off the camera. I go back to class. 40 minutes later, I go back and I see that the camera is still running. Ah, crud. And then eventually, maybe I run out of memory or the battery's dead before I actually have time to replace it. And that frustrates me because I want to get all of the footage that I can so that I can later analyze. That's just how I do my stuff. So that's something that I had to make this conscious effort to remember, okay, you're pitting in, what do you have to do? Shut off the camera, right? Stop the engine. Turn it off using the key. Why do I mention that? Because there was one time last year when I had to sit out a session because I dried out my battery. Why? Because I came out of the track, I killed the engine, but I didn't turn off on the key. I go to class. When I come back 25, 30 minutes later, the battery is dead.
You left the key.
Yeah, I left it like this. So the engine was not running, but this guy was still on. Had no battery, and I had to sit out. It was the second session of the day, and I was like, I cannot ride because I don't have a battery. I had to let it charge for some time to be able to go out again. So now that because of that, I remember how I felt when that happened. I hated that, right? Because I don't like sitting out sessions unless I'm too tired to go out and ride in a safe manner. I stop the camera on the back. I check if there's still battery so I can run another session. I take off my gloves. I put it on the seat so I don't forget next time out. I take the helmet off and I put it on a little ceiling fan on the ground because that way it helps dry off the helmet. And like in the summer, when you ride on the track and it's like 100 degrees out, as you come off of the track, you put your hand on your helmet. It's hot. It's really hot. And then you let it sit there, go to class, go back, you put on the helmet. You don't feel good because it's still hot. So you put the little fan there, it keeps circulating air. Oh man, it helps. All right. um, get the liner out, get the earplugs out. I put them there automatically. So next time out, because I've gone to the track and forgot to put the earplugs on. And then I go out there, it's like, oh crap, right? I don't want to forget those things anymore. And it's easy to forget. So I put it there. Because it's like, okay, now I'm going to go get my gloves and stuff. It's there. I'm not going to forget, right? You made it back. Go tell the person who may be around you, supporting you, hey, I've made it back in one piece. The bike is in one piece. I'm in one piece. That's good. That's important, right? Because when you have a spouse, a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, that's following you, I mean, you're on the track, they're back in the paddock, and they're hearing, oh, there's a red flag. Somebody went down. They're going to think what? It's him, right? Until they actually see you, they're going to be like, right? So as you make it back, hey, let's celebrate, right? Another session, had a lot of fun, learned stuff, good, right? That's all part, at least for me, very important. It's part of my rituals. Always I follow these steps, right? And it's been working out really well for me. I've been improving as a rider, becoming faster. As I'm doing that, remember, I just came back from the track, I'll check the tires. Because remember, the tire is the most important thing that you have there to keep your safety. Because it's your point of contact with the track. It's that rubber. If you don't have that rubber, because maybe your tires are way too old, that's scary, that's dangerous. Or if you don't have the proper tire pressure, it can become dangerous. So as I come back from the track, I'll check the temperature on my tires and the air pressure. And I'll write it down. Like on this one, I wrote on session 5, the rear tire was at 141 degrees, the front 131. I'll write that down. Because again, on the beginning, I didn't know what to do with those numbers. But I showed that to some of my friends who actually do, and they're like, oh man, you're not putting enough heat into the tires. You need to drop a pound of air. You need to do this. You need to do that. Oh, okay, great. But if I don't have that information, then it's a shot in the dark, right? So again, it's the kind of stuff that even nowadays, it's not like I know exactly what to do with those numbers, but it's something that I can track. I can go there, use one of those, infrared gauges. Oh, 141. Let me write it, right? So that helps. Running the tire warmers, when you come back from the track, you're going to have pebbles and, stuff like that on your tires. You don't want to put the tire warmers directly onto it because there's actually a very good video on the internet by Dave Moss who explains this. He says, when you put the tire warmers like this, if the heating element of the tire warmer does not touch the rubber, it's going to keep heating up and up and up until it reaches that temperature. Well, if there's a pebble in the middle, it will never reach that, so it may catch on fire, right? Not fun. So I use like a little glove like this to just brush off the pebbles. A buddy of mine uses a brush like this, which has that shape that you can get at Walmart. Either way, just brush it off, put the warmers on, and then again, all this like temperature tracking and warmers, as a beginner, don't worry about it. Just do not worry about that at all. That will come with time. As you get faster, then those things will become really important. As you start going on out there, don't worry, right? Wrapping up that session, so I came out of the session. What else do I do after all that? So I've brushed off pebbles of my tires, so I will put on the warmers, put the bike on the stands, put on the tire warmers, make sure that they are turned on, right? Because it has happened to me, I think once this far, when I put on the warmers, but I didn't plug them in. So I come back from class like, well, my tires are not heat up properly. Well, it's because I'm not running the warmers. It happens. Oh, so why don't you leave it like on all the time? Well, because if they are not on the rubber, you don't want to go out to the track and keep the warmers running because they may catch on fire because they are not warming anything. They are not in contact with rubber. So that you just have them heating up what? That's dangerous. So that's another thing of the things that I always do. Before I take the warmers off the bike, I unplug them. Then I get them off and I go out. I come back, I put them back on, and then I plug them in, right? So that I don't forget to turn them on and I don't forget to turn them off when I'm, going to the track. Do all those things, put the ladders down so I can, have some breathing. I take my back protector off. I hang it someplace, and it's even better when it's a little windy because that way it helps dry out. Because these things, man, they make you sweat even more. And I see people who just wear those things all day. I'm like, are you crazy? It's hot, man. Get out of that thing. So it's just, again, something I do. I just get that thing off. I grab my little notebook that I carry with me. I have like a track day notebook where I keep all of my notes, right? My tire pressure, tire temperature, the things that I said I was going to work on. And then as I come out of the track, I will write down, oh, I tried carrying a little more speed on turn 8. Man, that felt scary, right? Or, you know what? I carried a little more speed, and guess what? I can carry more speed. I write it down. Because then later, when I'm back home and I watch the videos, I watch the video with my notes like, oh, here, let's see. Carrying more speed, what does it look like? Oh, and how fast was I going? Because I don't keep looking at the speedometer. I don't know if I'm doing 30, 50, 60 miles an hour. I don't know. I'm paying attention to the track. Later, when I go back home, it's like, oh, I was going 40 miles an hour, and then I went like 42, and I felt that I was going faster, but I feel that I can actually go faster than that. So maybe next time I'll try a little bit more and see if I get to 45. I don't know, right? But if I don't have those notes, just having the videos, it just looks like a lot more of the same. If you keep watching different videos but not knowing what to look for, right? Because it has happened to me like yesterday, 2 days ago, I was watching some videos from Coda last month, and then I see that I'm going on the back straight at a certain speed, and I'm like, oh, nice. I'm starting to brake, a little bit later. Oh, that's nice, and that's my note. Oh, but then I wrote here that I blew the corner. And sure enough, it's like, yep, I was at that speed. I pushed my brake marker, but then I didn't make the corner properly. I ended up going too wide on the corner. So I was like, okay, next time out, I know that at that speed, I may either need to, back off and start braking a little bit earlier, or just steer more into it to be able to actually make that corner. Or maybe I need to trail brake into the corner, deeper into the corner to be able to make it. But without this information, if I just go out to the track, ride, and then go back home, I don't know, right? And some people are fine with that. Some people just want to get out of the house and go to the track, ride, and go back home and whatever. I'm not like that. I want to improve, right? I want to get better. How can I get better? I do these things. It's what works for me, right? Take my little notepad, go back to class. That's me. I go there and I sit in class as much as I can, right? It's been getting harder for me to watch all the classes the entire duration because of all these things that I need to do. Going out to the track, back, tire warmers, brush off stuff, and it's a lot of things. Before I started using running tire warmers, no problem. I could make it back to class and out on time. It was all good. Now I'm feeling a little bit too hurried. But at this point, I can ask for the opt-out sticker where I don't have to go to class if I don't want to. So that gives me the flexibility. If I want to like skip class once in a while, or if I want to get to class a little bit late or leave class a little bit earlier, I can do that. But again, it's something that you don't have to worry about that as you get started. When you get started, go to class every single time. Every single time. There's so many things for you to learn, right? And there's so many things for me to learn. That's why as much as I can, I go to class. I go work with instructors. I go ask them questions. I go ask them to, follow me and tell me, where should I be working on next? What am I not doing properly? Or what are areas that I, with a little bit of tweak here or there that I could get better, right? By having an extra pair of eyes looking, up for those things, that's a good thing to do. All right, so I think it's a good time to wrap things up. Uh, for next month in December, even though it's the off season, people are not riding at the track in December because it's kind of cold, at least for Texas, uh, you know, terms. But on the 19th, we're gonna still have this meetup. The main plan for that is gonna be a 2018 season roundup. Like I'll come out here and I will share, for me, what was 2018 like. What were my main goals that I had set for the year? What have I accomplished? And what do I look forward to on the next season? How am I planning my next season? Right? What do I do? Do I look at the calendar? What days do we have track days? How do I decide which ones do I want to go to? That kind of stuff we're going to be sharing next month. And I'll be inviting some buddies of mine to also share their experiences. Like, okay, what did you say you were going to do this year? What did you actually do? How did it go? What do you want to do next year? That's going to be the idea. Biggest lessons learned and stuff like that.